didactic poem because it gives all the negative impacts that television set could have on children. And the theme of the poem, if you see, television is an idiotic box, in the sense the central idea of the poem is that television is an idiotic box, and that clogs and freezes the mind of young children. And the idiotic box here, I told you, it is a transferred epithet, means in a sense that it is not the TV set that is an idiot, but it produces dullness in the mind of those who watch it. And the poet advises the parents to uninstall or throw away the TV sets because it is a monster that may hypnotize children and make them behave like, or make them look like drunkards. Okay, and they fill them with junk. And the poet says that children, while watching television, do not engage themselves in actively with the material as they do while reading, and such passively makes them dull. And then I told you the death of imagination, it causes the death of imagination. The imagination is a creative faculty that helps you to form a picture in your mind of something that you have experienced or thought about. And this ability to think of new ideas will diminish when a child passively engages in watching television. And the use of capital letters and words such as rods, kills, clogs, clutters in lines 21 to 33 put a stress on what television does to one's imagination. So watching too much of television destroys the children's ability to create or understand world's fantasy. And their mind gets clogged and cluttered. They become dull and thus loll and slop and lounge about. Their brain becomes soft like cheese. So what is the figure of speech used there? Brain becomes soft like cheese. Children, simile is used there. Compared, brain becomes like cheese. Simile. Okay, and their thinking power also rusts and freezes. That is not going to help them in any way later. And the importance of reading books is insisted that you should. And the importance of reading books is stressed upon by the poet, and the importance inculcating reading as a habit, because reading helps you to be in a company all through. Like, see, if you have good book with you, you don't need friends. So that is what the author tries to explain. And then the form and structure, it is a continuous 93 lines poem where there are no stanzas, but the poem definitely has different movements, and poet has taken care to use appropriate words to convey his message regarding watching television. And it follows a rhythmic pattern and has a rhyme scheme, A, B, B, C, C, except for, which other lines is said? 31 to
31,
32.
32.
Yes, 31, 32, and 33. Okay, and then it has repetition and personification, hyperbole, typography, and I forgot to mention one more figure of speech there, children. It's called synecdoche. S-Y-N-E-C-D-O-C-H-E. Synecdoche is a figure of speech in which a part is put for the whole or the whole for a part. So here in the poem, the synecdoche is the younger ones had Beatrix Potter. Here the name of the author, Beatrix Potter, is used to represent the whole gamut of her works, such as The Tale of Squirrel Nutkin, The Tale of Mr. Todd, and The Tale of Pigling Bland. All these are mentioned. So to give you the whole idea through a part, or a part of it through the whole idea, we call it as synecdoche. That is a kind of a poetic device. So S-Y-N-E-C-D-O-C-H-E. You may make a note in your page 23. I've already written there in your the reader, where my book, which you've got already the pages. So there you will have synecdoche is a part is made to represent the whole or vice versa. So here it is used in the younger ones had Beatrix Potter. By mentioning that, he uses that. Okay, children, so now we'll see the next poem. I'm sorry that I had to go a bit quick because we have to finish the portions before next Tuesday. So now we will see the poet's note of Daffodils poem, a quick note on. The Daffodils, you have already read, you have already learned the poem is what I got to learn. Have you or not? Class 6? Yes. So what do you know about this poet, William Wordsworth? So this is William Wordsworth, who is also called the lake poet. So lake poet, he is not born in any lake or anything or any place where, see here, he is called one of the lake poets because there are three poets, William Wordsworth, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and Robert Southey. They lived in the English Lake District of Cumberland and Westmoreland, that is called now as Cumbria, at the beginning of the 19th century. So William Wordsworth is one of the lake poets. Why is he called the lake poet, I said? Because he lived in the Lake District of England. Okay? And these are the three lake poets: Wordsworth, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and Robert Southey. Robert Southey, have you heard about? Where?
Author of After Blenheim.
After Blenheim poet. Okay, good. So this is Cumberland, the Lake District. Children, it has so many lakes and a beautiful place. And this house was called Dove Cottage, Town and Grasmere, the place. This was the home of William and Dorothy Wordsworth. Dorothy was William Wordsworth's sister, and they lived there from 1799 to 1808. And this is Dorothy and William Wordsworth. So the early life of poet William Wordsworth, if you see, he was born on the April 7th, 7th of April, 1770 in Cockermouth, a place called Cockermouth in Cumberland, England. So that means he was born in the Lake District. Okay. Wordsworth's mother died when he was just 7 years old, and he was an orphan at 13. And despite these losses, he did well at Oxford Grammar School, where he wrote his first poetry and went on to study at Cambridge University. And though he was not able to do very well because he has become an orphan, both father and mother dies, and they die, and he becomes an orphan, so nobody to care for him. And he was not able to excel, do well in his studies, but managed to graduate in 1791. So this is the University of Cambridge. You would have heard about, children, one of the famous universities of England, Cambridge University. So where he got educated, and also St. John's College in Cambridge. It's a Newcote, a place called Newcote, St. John's College. That is also, where also he studied. And as a young poet in 1795, Wordsworth received an inheritance that allowed him to live with his sister, Dorothy. And that same year, Wordsworth met Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and they both became friends, and together worked on lyrical ballads, which was released in 1798. The volume contained poems such as Coleridge's Rime of the Ancient Mariner and Wordsworth's Tintern Abbey, and helped Romanticism take hold in English poetry. So he is also called a poet of Romantic period in England. And Wordsworth married his childhood friend, Mary Hutchinson. And the same year that Lyrical Ballads was published, Wordsworth began writing the Prelude, an epic autobiographical poem he would revise throughout his life. It was published posthumously in 1850. What is the meaning of posthumously?
After his death.
After his death, yes, very good. While working on the Prelude, Wordsworth produced other poetry such as Lucy and so on. He also wrote a preface for the second edition of Lyrical Ballads. It described his poetry as being inspired by powerful emotions and would come to be seen as a declaration of romantic principles. And his death, if you see, in 1843, Wordsworth became England's poet laureate. Children, poet laureate is someone who becomes the official poet of the court. Okay, so he became one. He was honored as a court's poet, officially poet laureate, a position he held for the rest of his life. At the age of 80, he died on 23rd April 1850 at his home in Rydal Mount, Westmoreland. And England, it is in England, and was buried at St. Oswald's Church, Grasmere. So this is Rydal Mount home where he lived from 1830 to 1850. And even now people visit there. Hundreds of visitors came here to see him over the year. And this is his gravestone, which is in Grasmere, Cumbria, the Lake District. Even now you can find it if at all you visit England. And this is Grasmere. So if you and I were born in such a beautiful country, for sure, we also would write poems. So quite natural for anyone to become a poet, isn't it? Such a beautiful place. So this poem, The Daffodils, was published. This is from your reader, children. It was published in poems in 2 volumes, Poems in 2 volumes, which was released in 1807. The poet, as early leader of Romanticism, a literary movement that celebrated nature and focused on human emotions in English poetry, and greatest lyric poet in the history of English literature, and the second son of 5. His parents had 5 children, and he was the second son of the 5. Richard, then William Wordsworth, Dorothy, his younger sister, John and Christopher were his younger brothers. At 13, he lost his parents and went to Hoxhead Grammar School, developed his love for nature, and his first volume of poem was published in 1793. And 1802, he married to his childhood friend, Mary Hutchinson. And so in 1843, he became Poet Laureate of England. And so born on April 7, 1770 and died on 23rd April 1850. And he died in a place called Rydal Mount, UK, died of a disease called pleurisy. Pleurisy is a disease where you will have inflammation of pleura. What is pleura? Biology, a bit of biology into it. What is pleura, children? Don't know. Do you know or not? Pleura is a membrane that covers your lungs. Okay? What is the outer sac that covers your heart? Yes. Pericardium. Oh my Jesus, these children, 9th standard. Okay, fine. So pleura was inflamed and he had a disease called pleurisy, and that is why he died. And he died at the age of 80. Lake poets, I told you. Who are the 3 lake poets? William Wordsworth, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Robert Southey, because they lived in the Lake District in the northwest England in the county of Cumbria. And his work, if you see, so children, let me read what is there in your reader, the poet's note. Please pay attention. No study of English literature is complete without a reading of William Wordsworth, who's perhaps the greatest of the Romantic poets. It was he who rallied for the use of everyday language. Rallied here means improved or reformed or recovered. Okay? And common people and things in poetry. And Wordsworth was a great lover of nature, and this poem was inspired by a real life experience. That is, once when on a walk with his sister, he came upon a sight of a belt of daffodils beside a lake with a wind blowing over the flowers. So his sister, Dorothy, and he went on a walk near the lake, and they come across the sight of a belt of daffodils beside the lake with the wind blowing over the flowers, and it looked like as if they are tossing their heads and dancing. And the sight of this vast expanse of yellow flowers inspired Wordsworth to write this remarkable poem. And he goes on to tell the reader that long after he had had this experience, the mere memory of the sight would lift his spirits when he felt dejected or depressed. And this well known poem is a eulogy to the restorative powers of nature. So, here, children, so the sight of the vast expanse here, the stretch of a large open area of something, the yellow flowers, the golden yellow flowers, inspired Wordsworth to write this remarkable poem. It's such a great and a famous poem of his. He goes on to tell the reader that long after he had had this experience, the mere memory, the mere here, the slender, just or only the memory of the sight would lift spirits when he felt dejected or depressed, when he felt gloomy, sad, and depressed on a melancholic mood. He felt the thought of the daffodils alone could lift his spirit. So that was the beautiful sight. So he was not able to forget till he died. And this well known poem is a eulogy. Eulogy is a speech or a piece of writing that says very good things about somebody or something. So here it has the ability to restore something, to bring back restorative powers of nature. Here the daffodils were able to bring back the memory and make him feel happy and comfortable, is what he says. As a so especially as a tribute to someone who has just died, eulogy here is a kind of a tribute to someone. It is written. And his work, if we see, 1798 lyrical ballads in collaboration with Taylor, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, T.S. Coleridge, and others, Tintin Abbey, Solitary Reaper, To the Cuckoo, Lucy Poem, Ode on Intimations of Immortality, the Prelude, that is the masterpiece published after his death.